after they put it out there, next thing you know, smoke started coming out of the grandstands. They started fighting that. So we were up in the grandstands. I was taking pictures. Guys were fighting the fire, and it was really smoky. And then they evacuated everybody out because it just was everywhere. So we ran down the stands, and me and three other chiefs were in the middle of the race course. Like we ran across through the mud. It was like 2 feet deep because of all the rain. And all of a sudden, the whole stands took off. And as it was coming down, we looked both ways and says it's going to be a long walk that way and a long run that way. And we dug holes in the ground. And when the stands came down, it was a good blast of heat. But everybody got out in time, and that was a pretty good fire.
Hi, everybody. It's David Rhodes, and welcome to another episode of In the Books, Fire Engineering Books podcast. And I am joined with an old friend today from Chicagoland. It is Mr. Tim Olk. Tim, how's it going, buddy?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good. Got the old stash back, I see.
Yeah, I got the stash, the eyebrows, and the hair back.
Outstanding. Kind of matching today. I guess we got the memo.
Yeah,
So
I'm kind of on a
looking
break
good there,
right
brother.
now, so I feel pretty good.
Good. Well, everybody knows Tim Olk from his photos from around Chicago, FDIC, and a lot of fire engineering shots. So, Tim, you've got the book, and it's a book full of just a lot of photographs of different stuff from all around. And I'm curious, even though I guess we've known each other probably 15 plus years, but I don't really know the story of how you got into photography. So, how long have you been a photographer, and where did it all start?
So I've been doing it a little bit over 40 years now. Me and my dad were out in the front yard doing some yard work, and a bunch of fire trucks came by when I was about 14, 15 years old, and there was a house fire down the street. So my dad threw me his camera and says, "Hey, go down and take some pictures." Went down, took some pictures, stayed there for a couple hours. It was a pretty good fire. They had fire coming out of a bunch of windows, and um, didn't really know anybody down there, so kind of stayed back. And um, after the fire was out, came home and gave the camera back to my dad, and he went and got the pictures developed, and it was so I got some pretty good pictures. So I drove by the firehouse their next workday and met a couple of guys that were working and gave them a set of the pictures, and it's just gone from there.
So you were a natural right from the beginning.
From the beginning, yeah. So at the fire, I actually met their assistant chief, Wayne Lecht, who was their fire investigator and assistant chief that day. And he's the one that answered the door when I went to the firehouse. And we kind of bonded from there, and told him I was going to photographer school in high school, taking a couple classes on it. And, pretty much from there, it's just grown.
You remember what kind of camera it was?
It was an old Olympus film camera. And, now all I use is Canons, but it was one of their
Right.
old Olympus ones where you didn't even know if the pictures turned out till you got home and got the film developed.
Yep. I remember those days. You used to have the old, around here, it was the Clark photo booths or the photo stops. You would drive up, your parents would hand off the rolls of film, and then like a week or two later, you would go back by and pick up the envelope. You couldn't wait to dig in. And it's just crazy now with all the technology. It's like there's people with more pictures on their phone right now than we ever took in our entire lifetime with a camera back in the day. It's crazy.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we had the photomat booths, and you knew if you
Yeah,
got a thick
photomat.
package, they all turned out. If you got a real
Yeah.
thin one, you knew not much turned out.
Yep. And the negatives were always in there with them, so you could get reprints if you wanted to.
Yeah.
What do you think was the biggest influence on you that led you down this path? Was it that one incident, or were you already into some photography before then?
So I never really was into photography, but that assistant chief and me became pretty good friends, and I took photography class in high school. And then after I got certified in that, I went and talked to him. They made me their department photographer, started taking pictures at all the fires, was there with him doing the investigation stuff, him and a guy named Doug Kelder. And they pretty much took me under their wings and taught me how to do this, how to shoot this. And then down the line, I became paid on call with the Northbrook Fire Department. And so I got to a lot more fires, got to do a lot more with him. And he sent me to the Mavis Division 3 Arson Strike Force, Investigator Strike Force meeting. So I got 20-hour certification in fire scene photography after that. Um,
Outstanding. Now, is that where you lived? Was up in Northbrook?
yeah, Northbrook. It's about 20 minutes north of Chicago.
Yep.
Um, so I got certified and all that, started doing a lot of stuff with him. And when I was paid on call, and me and Wayne pretty much were friends for over 20 something years. And one day I saw him in the morning and said, "Have a good day," and went off to work. Um, we had a fire or report of smoke in the electrical room at Neiman Marcus, which was a big store here in the Northbrook Court Mall. And Wayne got called out there. There was an explosion. I just happened to be in front of Station 12, so I jumped and I drove the squad that day. And Wayne pretty much, with the electrician and a couple other people, got burned pretty bad. And the electrician died pretty much right away. Wayne lasted about a week, and that was pretty rough on me. And when I
Mm.
had to look for pictures, there wasn't a lot of pictures. So that's where I said I'm going to dedicate my time to making sure that we have enough pictures of guys for retirements, promotions,
Yeah.
whatever it is, we're going to have pictures. So when somebody asks, and that's when pretty much I just been focusing on that. And you go to one fire and you get mutual aid companies coming in. They're like, "Hey, why don't you come to us?" And it just went boom, 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 and grew from there.
Now, I know you take thousands of shots for us at FDIC, but all the way back to those times, how do you keep that organized so that if somebody says, "Hey, you got pictures of so and so," and you pull them up, did you have a system pre-computer and now you got a different system? That's like a management asset management nightmare.
Yeah, so everything pretty much now, the web page I have is kind of like a file where I put the galleries together, load it up, and I keep all the um, originals on a hard drives, which I got tons of hard
Mm-hmm.
drives. But pretty much you go on my webpage. That's because you can get original files off of that or whatever. And that's kind of my file
Mm-hmm.
system since 2006. Everything before that's in a shoebox. It's all negatives or multiple
Gotcha.
shoeboxes.
Right. So I know I met you in Chicago when I was up there with Bobby Halton. I can't remember exactly what year that was. It seems like maybe we were going to UL or either we were just in town for a meeting. It may have been one of the studies they were doing. I don't even remember. But you picked us up at the airport. That was the standard, I think, when Mr. Halton was in town, and we went to eat. But I know you were really close with Bobby. So how did you guys meet? And tell us a little bit about that relationship.
So I met him one year, and it was at FD or UL. We were doing live fire training. He would come up here, and I met him one year at UL at one of the classes, and we exchanged cards. And then I started sending him pictures, and from there it just blew. Every time he came into town, I would pick him up, no matter where he wanted to go, and um, just whatever he needed. If he needed a place to stay while he was on a holdover, the guys from O'Hare picked him up a couple of times from Squad 7 and let him just hang out there when he was on like a 6 hour, 7 hour layout, layover or something.
Yeah.
Uh, I brought him to Northbrook one time to have dinner, and he actually fell asleep in the recliner, and the battalion chief, Bob Brogan, let him just sleep there for as long as he wanted to sleep. He says, let him sleep. He's probably exhausted.
Do you remember what year you guys met?
It's been over 20 years, that I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then I started just submitting a lot of pictures, and he saw what I did, and he sees how active I am. I mean, I go everywhere. It doesn't matter where it's at. If somebody
Right.
wants it, I'm there. And started submitting pictures, and the guys started using them for their books, their PowerPoints. And then he invited me to FDIC, and then I met a lot of other people. So that's pretty much, I mean, we would go out to dinner and we'd just sit there and he would talk about things and we'd make phone calls to, he would make a phone call like the one year to Chickarota saying he's getting the Lifetime Achievement Award, or that kind of stuff,
Right.
or Larry McCormick, or, just different guys. And I just thought it was pretty cool being with him when he's got these phone calls, when he's making them. And, you got to keep everything quiet until it's that time. And, but
Yep.
I drove him to Valparaiso, Indiana one time to the Mac Center out there. He had to do a thing. So no matter where he had to go, I would pick him up and take him.
Yep. That was good stuff. What have you been able to do this and make a living at it, or have you been like most fire service folks, and this was a labor of love, and you had a day job to go along with that?
So I do have a day job. I work for a board up and restoration company, and we're still involved with the fire departments, but we're on all the
Right.
lists. When a fire comes in, if it's our turn, we go do the board up, secure the house, restoration, help the people out, and it's just grown to that's like a full time job. The photography is a labor of love. I mean, that's just
Right.
I don't charge for photos, but I mean, there's guys out there that says no, I want to pay for this, or I want a
Right.
copy of this, and they do that. But pretty much, it's always been a labor of love, and a lot of the stuff from the last 15 years I've done is like I get called to go to funerals to do line of duty deaths. I don't just show up. I mean, if I don't get called, I'm not showing up. It's if
Mm-hmm.
the families want me out there, and that's what I get a lot of people calling and saying, "Hey, the family would like you out there. They know who you are, or their son
Mm-hmm.
always followed you, or they've." I mean, I got 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I get so many mothers and wives that follow me just because of what I do,
Yep.
and when I do a few line of duty death, I give the pictures to the fire department and to the family at no charge, and they can do whatever they want with them. But they got young kids, and when they grow up, they can see what their dad did, and the impact their dad put on a lot of people.
So are you on lists for the area fire departments up there? Do you scan and listen to see what's going on? How do you stay in touch with what's going on?
So I get a calls from a lot of fire chiefs and a lot of dispatchers. I'm on all the dispatch apps. So like around here by us in Northbrook, we use a thing called the G2. So uh, when they're toning out in the station a fire call, I'm getting the page right now. So I'm getting it as
Gotcha.
they're getting it. But since I don't have to get in my gear, I can get out a lot faster. And if it comes in as a house fire, I start into it because you just never know nowadays the way these guys are putting fires out so fast. If I don't start into it
Right.
right away, it's out half the time. But still, I take it in and, I get a lot of the overhaul shots or after.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Good stuff. So stepping out of the fire service for a minute, obviously I'm one of your friends there on social media, so I saw that you had some connection to one of the American Idol finalists. What's the story? What's the connection with that? And who
so,
was that?
it was The Voice, not American
Oh,
Idol.
The
It was The
Voice.
Voice.
Okay, gotcha.
So a person that I met a while back, her name is Karen Waldrop. She's from Nashville. She's a country singer. And I started following her when she first started coming out. And we made a connection on Facebook and stuff. I would share all her new videos she put out and all her songs and all her posts. And then a lot of other people started jumping on board. And we've just stayed in touch. And during some of my treatments, she sent me a couple songs that she did that I would listen to when I'm doing my treatments or something that just relaxed me or it just made me She would always check to make sure her and her assistant Bonnie would just make sure that everything's good. And um, I just got a whole like 10 pictures that are autographed from the voice of her at the different things she did.
That's
But
awesome.
and I
That's
just shared
awesome.
it, and a lot of people caught on, and a lot of people during the voice when I put it out, they voted for her, and she got number 5, I think it was. She came in fifth
Yeah,
out of
I
all
think
the.
so.
So we still, when she
Yep.
comes here, I go to all her concerts, and there's even been a time where I was like her roadie, and I helped set up all her stuff on stage before she
That's
got big.
awesome.
Now she's going to have a lot of people doing that.
So you're a fan of hers while she's competing in one of the biggest publicized music competitions there are, and at the same time she's a fan of yours because of what you're going through. You want to, for those that don't know, obviously you're talking about your cancer treatments, and you've been pretty public with what's going on there. So if you want to talk about that a little bit, that'd be good to let everybody know exactly what you've had going on.
So a little background story: my dad died of pancreatic colon and spleen when he was 61, and I'm 57. So one day I wasn't feeling good, went into the ER and found out I was dehydrated. So they ran my urine sample, and it came back that there was something going on in there. And the doctor's like, because of your dad, let's send you to a urologist. So they sent me a urologist, and he goes, I want to do a CT. They did a CT and found out that I had bladder cancer. And you could plainly see it right there on the screen. It looked like a little cauliflower grape. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then he says, well, I want to do an MRI too. And then they found out that I also have prostate cancer at the same. So the prostate's a pretty slow thing. So they really haven't been doing much with that. I've had 2 surgeries and it keeps growing back in the bladder. So I'm kind of on a break right now till September 16th, where they're going to put a camera in me to see what our next steps are. And then I'm going to start round 4. But I've been pretty, letting people know and on Facebook and stuff because, there's a lot of my friends that have it right now. And, it's a hard thing to go through when you're by yourself and you don't have
Right.
anybody to be there. But I'm being pretty positive about it, showing people that I'm still out doing what I'm doing because that's what they wanted me to do. I didn't want to. They
Right.
didn't want me sitting around letting it get in my head, and from there, and just keep doing whatever I'm doing. I mean, I got tired a lot easier, but I just keep been doing everything I do just to be out there and be seen. And another person was Bobby when he had his cancer. I mean, if you look
Mm-hmm.
at how he walked around FDIC when he had it, he didn't let it bother him. He just always had a smile on his face. And that was pretty positive on me. So if I can give back to guys the same thing that he gave to me with the positivity and just being strong. And so I got a buddy right now, Mikey Lynch from Chicago, who's
Mm-hmm.
fighting a tough battle, leukemia. And we've been talking, and I told him, hey, just one day at a time. Don't worry about what happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow. Just worry about today, waking up, and just that's all you need to worry about. And he's like, that's a good thing to go on. Be positive and don't let it get in your head.
Yep.
Just keep doing what you can.
I, I think maybe that's better than some of the medicine
Yeah.
uh, that you get for sure. Well, good. I'm glad you're still doing good. You got your hair back, but we're gonna get ready to hit another round here. So I'm sure you'll be fine with that. What are some of the more notable fires or incidents that you've shot that folks might remember?
So we had a race course here called Arlington Park Racetrack, and it was
Mm-hmm.
a huge racetrack. And um, that's right around when I first started taking pictures. And I got there and I got some good pictures. It was raining so hard. It started in the paddock club. It wasn't even in the grandstands yet. And after they put it out there, next thing you know, smoke started coming out of the grandstands. They started fighting that. So we were up in the grandstands. I was taking pictures. Guys were fighting the fire, and it was really smoky. And then they evacuated everybody out because it just was everywhere. So we ran down the stands, and me and 3 other chiefs were in the middle of the race course. Like we ran across through the mud. It was like 2 feet deep because of all the rain. And all of a sudden, the whole stands took off. And as it was coming down, we looked both ways and says it's going to be a long walk that way and a long run that way. And we dug holes in the ground. And when the stands came down, it was a good blast of heat, but everybody got out in time, and that was a pretty good fire. We've had a couple good Chicago fires. We had a 511 at 47th and Ashland. It was a 5-story heavy timber, pretty much well involved when the chief was driving by and he found it. And
Hmm.
that turned into the Ice Palace. You remember those pictures where
Right.
that was all over the news, the Ice Palace, and but pretty much those were some pretty good fires that I remember about. I mean, there's tons of them I could be saying. Oh, and another one was out in Rockton, out by Rockford. Uh, I happened to be out that way, and they put a fire out at the Rockton chemical plant. And the minute I got on the road, you could see the header in the sky already. And when I pulled up, the chief goes, "Timmy, I just need you to start taking investigation photos. Just take pictures of everything." And it turned out like I was there 15 hours, and I think I took 7,000 pictures. And it was fire and smoke the whole time with huge explosions. And I mean, there was explosions where I was probably 200 feet away, and you could feel the heat.
Wow.
So that lasted a week.
So, with that vast amount of pictures, obviously you decided to put this book together behind the scenes. Um, what made you want to put the book together?
Um, So this was my third book, and I wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
this one because it's more for the families of the guys where they can come home and show their kids, hey, look what daddy's doing, or just a remembrance and just to have that just shows what everyday guys do. I mean, there's people out there buying it that have nothing to do with the fire service. They're buying it for their
Right.
kids. But this is to show the public kind of like the behind the scenes of what the fire guys go through every day, the trainings, the fires, just the brotherhood, the services, everything. So it was more of
Just
just,
kind of tell the whole story.
yeah.
Yep. I like that behind the scenes. That's perfect because it's just it's kind of capturing not just fires, but everything that happens around the fire station. Some just shots of stations, some of people doing day to day routine stuff, and it really tells the tale. Well, I know you got a few pictures picked out to talk about, so let's get one of those up and tell us a little bit about. These are some pictures from the book.
So this is actually the cover of the book. And what was
Mm-hmm.
interesting about this fire, if you look at the chief in the front of he's taking a picture of the fire. That was Jake, and Jake just retired with probably around 45 years on the job. But that day, Jake does all the bell ringing ceremonies for all the funerals, all the year anniversaries. Me and him went to a anniversary, and it was canceled due to the rain. So we were on our way back, and when I pulled up first at this fire. There was just a little smoke coming out. This was an auto parts building. It was full of auto parts. And there was just a little smoke coming out the front door. And the minute they opened it up, but everybody asked, why is the chief taking pictures? He wasn't working, but he was in his uniform because we went to the bell ringing ceremony.
Gotcha.
And that's just kind of a interesting. And you could see he went defensive and pretty fast. That whole building ended up coming down, but that's pretty much.
So a picture of a guy taking a picture of a nice job. That is pretty good. That's pretty symbolic there
But
for the
everybody
cover.
asked me, that, why is the chief taking
Oh
pictures?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Jake was that
Why
way.
needs his gear?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jake,
Oh yeah.
Jake.
Well, that's one thing I'm sure you run into all the time is like when we're looking at cover shots or stuff for the magazine, it's like, gosh, you examine everything as much as you can because you know it's going to be picked apart by everybody out there. And I remember years ago, I mean, this was probably 20 plus years ago when I forget, Bill Manning had run a picture on the cover of Fire Engineering. He just took so much heat over whatever it was. The guy didn't have his mask on right, or he didn't have gloves on, whatever it was. And he just got so fed up about getting all those complaints that he ran a totally white blank cover. And he said, the perfect fire scene. On the cover, you'll see this is the perfect fire scene. And it was a picture of nothing, because there is no such thing as a perfect fire scene. So, yeah, I'm sure you've heard plenty over the years from different shots you've posted or had printed. What's the next one? Oh, look at that guy.
Okay,
That's
so
a cast of characters right there. Was that this year or last
this
year?
was this year. The reason why I put that picture in there is because every one of you guys in that picture have just been supportive for me over the years since I've met you. Diane has just been there with whatever I need, and she calls me the minute she needs a picture because she knows I'll have it. But every one of these guys in this picture have just been outstanding. Like this year, especially with me having the cancer, everybody was watching
Yep.
out for me, making sure I didn't overdo it, making sure I had water.
Yep.
But everybody in that picture is just a class act in that picture.
Yep. So that's Diane Rothschild, that's Jacob Spence, me in the middle, Scott Isaacs from IFD, and then Brent Hollander, who runs the hands-on training. And the photo bomb guy there was not part of the
Yeah.
staff. I think that's just a passerby coming through there. And that was FDIC back in April of this year. Cool. All right, what's the next? Oh yeah.
So this is when I first met Chief Tracy. Bobby, I
Mm-hmm.
picked Bobby up, and we were doing high-rise fires where they were bringing the fans out and using fans to show how you can, positive
This is
pressure.
the
You get,
wasn't it the wind driven fire too?
yeah, all the
Were they?
wind-driven
Yeah.
fires. And I first met him, and Chief Tracy was there with a couple other guys from New York. But I mean, you look at Bobby there. That's a young picture there. But
Yeah, and it's also Bobby with 30 or 40 more pounds than we're used to seeing him
used to think,
with. So that was pre him getting really sick. So almost like Elvis.
yeah. But like I said, that was first time I met Chief Tracy, and we've been friends ever since. So
Yep, and he's still doing it, still teaching. Just had the high rise book come out last year with Jack Murphy, and still teaching. And he's one of those guys. We'll publish something, and I'll get a text or whatever, and he'll be like, "Oh, great article on this, great editorial on that." So he's paying attention and just still super super involved.
yeah.
And but yeah, what a great picture. Two iconic fellas right there. All right, what's next? Oh yeah, good old after party.
Yep. So this is after we did one of the burns on, I think it was the 14th floor. And so if you look in this picture, Jimmy Sunik's in that picture to the far left. Then it's Bobby. And a good buddy of mine from the city who's no longer with us. And then Mikey Lynch is in there. He's second from the right. He's the one that's fighting the leukemia right now. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so it's just been this was a fun time. I mean, it lasted like a week, I think, and everybody was there, and that's all you did on all the floors. They brought big ones on wheels, fans. They brought little ones, you name it,
Yeah.
and as you can see, a lot of fire duty that day.
Yep. Good stuff. You remember what year that was?
You know what? I forgot. I got the photo that'll tell me what it
Yeah.
was.
It's been at least what?
Probably 15, 20,
15, yeah.
because
Yep.
the Robert Taylor homes were knocked down a long time ago. So that was the projects where, you had gangs living in each building and cages on the
Mm-hmm.
outside. And so, but most of it, it
Good
was
deal.
it's like plaster over brick. So when you had a fire in there, all you did is throw everything out the window and you just paint the place and you
Yeah, as an
start all over
oven.
again.
That's the way a lot of the projects were. I remember my first fire and the ones in Atlanta were all concrete. And of course, the officer was like, pull the ceiling, pull the ceiling. You take your hook and you jab it into the concrete and it just vibrates you and everybody laughs. Yeah. And we'd run calls, they'd come in, repaint, move a new family in, whatever. And, you'd be running a medical call or something, and you'd look up at the ceiling, you'd see few little chips where you knew they'd had a fire in there, and some rookie had been told to pull the ceiling and chip away at the concrete.
Rattled his
Always
teeth.
good time. Yep. Yep. They were nothing but it's almost like just a burn building, though. I
Yeah.
mean, you could put them out with very little water. All right. What's next? Oh,
So
very dramatic one here.
this was a funeral for a guy, Chris Wheatley. We just had the anniversary here in Chicago, and Chris was a fireman at Engine 5 and Truck 2. Um, but if you just look at this picture, I was on the roof of the funeral home, and uh, one of the deputy fire commissioners, Sampy, was walking along the back and made sure that I made sure everybody was in line. So I'm on the roof walking, and he goes, "How's this line? Good, 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 good. We just want that in us." And if you look at this picture, there was a volunteer fireman that showed up, and if you look up in the left-hand corner, there's one guy in a light blue shirt out of all that dark blue. So it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a "Where's Waldo?" and there he is. But
Yep.
this was in front of the funeral home. They told everybody to go to the church, but out of respect for the family, and that's just the firefighter way, everybody showed up at the funeral home, and then they transferred him from the funeral home to the church. But that was
Yep.
in front of the funeral home, which they didn't expect.
And everybody probably remembers the iconic scene and backdraft of the funeral and the march and just the sea of firefighters in their trench coats and class A's, and a lot of folks thought that that was just a Hollywood moment there, but like that is the tradition, and as evident by the real life picture of a funeral there, it's like that is the Chicago ways to turn out like that. And so even though it was a Hollywood production for that, they were mimicking
The
um,
real deal.
the real funeral procession and stuff for that with the flags and just incredibly moving. And I know that means so much to the family to see that level of support. Incredible shot. All right. That looks cold. I don't get that down here, Tim.
Yeah, yeah, it was
You,
cold. It
you
wasn't
keep
actually
that up
that
there.
bad that day. I think it was like 40, 50 degrees, but this
Okay.
was a vacant house down at 51st and Bishop. I was on squad 5 that day with the officer was Cliff Gardner, and I just happened to just walk in. He says, "Oh, Timmy's here, so there's going to be a fire." And what happens? We get a vacant building fire. So they were working on this building. It was all boarded up, and if you look in the picture up on by the basket, you can see there's a guy up there chopping, old school with an axe. He didn't stay up there very long, but that's how Chicago is. They go up there and they do what they can until they're told to get off.
Yeah, that's a good fire behavior shot there too. That could probably be used in some of the training. That smoke there is that's some epic pressure right there coming out.
Yeah, I tried to get that as a
Do you know
cover.
any? Do you remember anything about the fire?
So somebody broke into the house. This house was completely boarded up, as you could tell from the front. Boards on every window, and where the fires come out in the back, there was a homeless guy that was in there trying to keep warm and started a fire on the floor. And when it started, he took off. And of course, middle of the day, this had to be about 10 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
but they ended up burning the whole roof off of it and knocked it out. But I was started by a homeless guy, 2.5 story frame, and just,
Is that balloon frame?
yep,
Yep.
which a lot of it in that area is like this. But
Yeah.
like I said, I tried to get this to be a cover But if you look at the guy on the roof, he doesn't have a pack on. Bobby goes, "Ah, that wouldn't be good because we'll get talked about." And I go, "You know what? Yeah, that's true. I could see that happening." But that's Chicago's way right now is when they're on a roof like this in such a peak, they don't wear their packs up there. That's just their way of doing it. They're trying to get it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just their way of doing things. And I get a lot of ridicule on a lot of my pictures and stuff because they'll take their helmets off and put it up on the tip of the ladder. And
Mm.
that's just their way to do it up down there. And but
Got it. All right. What's the next one?
this was a good.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about this one before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this was at the Marine Center off of Foster. It's the reserves. So it's family day, and a lot of the guys you see in this picture, Artie Aranda, Pat Maloney, Brian Velez, a lot of the guys in this picture are Marines, and they were Marines. But once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. So it was family day, and all the guys were off in Afghanistan fighting. So the families were here with none of their husbands. So the guys decided to bring the rigs there and let the kids go up on the snorkel and just do whatever they can, to make them happy. And as we were there, these four guys come back. They were doing funerals they did like three funerals this day. And they wanted to get a picture with the guys from the fire department to thank them for coming out and supporting them and their families. Well, the guys are all away. So that's why we did that picture.
Awesome. All right. I think we got one more.
This is just kind of a joke picture, but if you look, Dave's holding a rat. And these high rises
Okay.
were known for lots of them. And Chief Tracy was there, Bobby was there, and I'm trying to remember who the other chief is there. He's at FDIC. But this was just another the high rise wind driven fires, and it just gives a different picture, you know, just to show
Mm-hmm.
the fun of what they had.
And I saw you got that one saved as a file, the Rat Pack.
The Rat Pack. Yep,
Good stuff.
kind
Good
of looks like the
stuff.
Rat Pack, doesn't it? With Tracy and all them in
A
there,
little bit.
Bobby. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't see not a whole lot of pictures of Bobby in gear
yeah, well,
around. You see
that's
most of them from the stage, but it's good. Great picture. Is that Healy?
yes,
Maybe.
Healy. That's
Yeah,
I couldn't
George Healy.
remember his name up, but that's George.
Yep.
And actually, he actually climbed. They had a Chicago tower ladder set up at this, and he climbed the ladder. It was like a straight up climb, all the way extended, and everybody's like, "Oh man!" And he goes, "That's how we do it in New York."
What he didn't tell you was his recovery was like 2
Yeah,
weeks after that. He had to have massages, ice baths, infusions. But nah, good dude. So a lot of people don't know Tim, uh, other than your book and shots at FDIC. You do a lot of shots of the hot sites at FDIC, and then this year we kind of kept you close to the vest at the convention center and Lucas Oil. But you also you shoot a lot of stuff for our training arm, which is the fire engineering training. And so, what are some of the requests that you've gotten from us to go shoot for our actual training lesson plans and stuff?
so the new stuff, like I've gotten hazmat stuff. I think there was some rope stuff, if I remember. Officer, like officer talking to a firefighter or a lieutenant or checking in at the scene. And the most recent one was dispatchers. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to get a bunch of pictures of like dispatchers taking a call, the equipment they use, just the phones, just to kind of go over so people know what they have to do and what their role is in the firefighting.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. And you're still cranking that out plus doing all the other stuff
yep.
too. So you are a busy man.
And of course, Diane calls me every once in a while and says, "Hey, we need a cover right now for the supplementary cover of guys working out."
Yeah.
And if I don't have them,
We
I
just
just,
you either just had a cover or are about to have one, aren't you?
I had a cover, I think it was June. That was the
Yeah,
one where it
that's
was a
right.
brownstone with heavy smoke showing.
Yep.
Pulled up on that one, and they ended up pulling a guy out that was in a wheelchair. He ended up dying, but and then there was a guy up on the second floor in the bathroom, didn't even know there was fire. The door was shut and he had his headphones on. And when they went in, they opened the door. There he was, just sitting there, clear as day. Like, what the hell are you guys doing in my house? But that's part of the thing. You find people in weird places.
Yep. It's incredible. And so how long, once again, how long have you been shooting?
A little bit over
40
40
something
years.
years? 40 years.
I'm 58.
Incredible. Incredible, Tim. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this. And the book Behind the Scenes is available at Fire Engineering Books. And you got any projects lined up in the next short period that you're headed to, or just normal operating time?
Normal operating time, but I'm just every day I'm putting stuff together. I got a couple of requests from guys that are doing PowerPoints or books, and I got to look for
Mm-hmm.
pictures there. But every day pretty much somebody's asking me, "Do you got a picture of this or you got this?" I'm writing a book on this, and they send me the requests, and I try to fill them as best as I can.
Well, good deal. Well, we wish you the best with your continued progress against the big C and your treatments coming up. I know you'll do well, and anything you need, you just let us know. And I know the whole entire fire service has got your back on that, and we'll be monitoring your progress and making sure you're healthy for the next FDIC. Get that energy level up. Hopefully, you'll keep the mustache this time.
Yeah,
You're a little spooky looking when I saw you the last time there, Tim. I will
no
have to admit.
mustache, no eyebrows, and no hair.
No, nothing. Yeah, and I couldn't get away without you at least saying it one time. But could you give us one? The Bears.
Not bears.
Yeah, I mean Central Casting right there,
That's
ladies
right.
and gentlemen. Central Casting. All right, folks, it's behind the scenes, and you can get it at Fire Engineering Books. You can visit them at fireengineering.com. Tim, when he's out and about, he carries some copies with him. He'd be glad to sign them for you and get them to you. An incredible book, just a good tribute to the men and women of the fire service. And Tim, we really appreciate everything you do, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
All right, for Fire Engineering Books, I'm David Rhodes, and this one is in the books.